Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. It is Markets in the Morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is Wednesday, April 9th, 2025. This is Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action of the cryptocurrency market, including the Bitcoin price chart, along with the altcoin market, the United States stock market. Maybe I just said that. I don't know. I got distracted by those 50 memberships that came through. Thank you very much. I'll get to that in a second. Thank you. We take a look over here at the United States dollar currency index, gold and silver, everything as we get ready to kick off the day and the stock market opens up here in the next 8 minutes. Usually I start these streams a couple of minutes before markets open, but today we kind of starting 5 minutes earlier than usual, just because we've obviously had a tremendous amount of volatility. Today's a huge day because today tariffs go live, and we'll see how the stock market is going to respond to that. Did we hit max pain today? Have we already hit it? You know, is this a moment where things like take a big dive, or is this kind of like when the Fed, remember, like they're talking about the Fed's going to hike, and then finally when the Fed actually does its first hike, we like hit our bottom right after that, and then we kind of kept rising during the whole hiking cycle back in 2023. We'll see if the markets will open up here in the next 7 minutes. So we'll talk about a lot of things going on in here. I, of course, don't have the answers for everything. This is a really wild time right now. We have the dollar selling off. We have equity selling off. You have Treasury selling off. You have anything United States really is getting sold off right now in this crazy moment of what is now today officially a 104% tariff placed on China. Now China has a 74% tariff placed on the U.S. So this effectively is, I'm going to guess, a trading halt. That there's probably no trading that's going to be taking place between the two countries until something can resolve itself. And this is a very unknown moment. This is something we haven't been through before. And this isn't just a tariff. This is a full-blown trade war, it appears to be. And so we'll see how things go today, if there's any type of news that happens in here. And that's one of the things that certainly makes this so ridiculously difficult, is that I think in the back of our heads, all of us know one piece of news could just change the whole thing suddenly. And if there's not the news, like, right, you have kind of two scenarios here. Like, one piece of news changes the whole story, and like we likely see the market rip to the upside. But if these things stayed in place and there was a full-blown trade halt between the countries, that's the type of thing that can like trigger serious economic issues. And so how long this could last for, is this going to be resolved in a day? Is it going to be resolved this morning? Is it going to be resolved in a month from now? Is this going to be resolved before Trump finishes his 100 days? Right? His 100-day, a president is typically, their big trophy that they have, not literally, but figuratively, is what did they accomplish in their first 100 days as the president? And that comes to a conclusion here at the end of April, is when his first 100 days are over. So does this thing get fully resolved by the time we get to the end of April? Is there enough time in the market to be able to withstand a liquidation event with that much time? Does the Fed intervene? Right? There's so many unknowns and so many variables in here. If things stayed the way they were, it would probably be pretty big troubles. But I think a lot of people think, is it really going to stay like this? And that's just the unknown. So we'll look at some of the charts and talk about these things. But of course, just knowing in the back of our heads, there's a lot of unknowns. Are things going to stay in this? And I can give like some of my personal thoughts on it. This channel, we're not political, right? So I do understand it's a president. There's going to be a lot of political opinions about it. And this not political opinions that I'm going to be providing, I'm just going to give thoughts on it, on what, the way I look at it. And of course, I've been listening to a lot of different people, listening to podcasts and what their thoughts on it. There's still, even people who are in the know are just massively confused about this and what the end goal of it really ends up being. And I'm not really sure either. So we'll talk about those different things and all that good stuff. As we sit today, though, as markets get ready to open here in the next 4 minutes for the U.S. stock market, we sit at $76,300 over here for Bitcoin. Looking at things like when it comes to the United States stock market, I went through this in yesterday's video. If this is more of just a standard sell-off that happens in here, it's a liquidation that happens in here. Gave kind of examples of if we find our footing here pretty soon, what can those things look like in regards to, still kind of being like a rotational equity top, or if this really just becomes more of a retracement, as of course, under the impression that this thing doesn't just continue going in a straight line down. Every time I come on here and I do markets in the morning, I edit the title of it and just kind of change a couple of the numbers in there. I think we were at like 84,000 or 86,000, maybe 88,000 last time we were at markets in the morning. And it's so crazy to think that just in that 1 week's time, it's just an entirely different landscape, an entirely different world from what we were just 1 week ago, with how rapidly everything deteriorated in markets with just no relief in sight. When we were together last time, we were sitting on top of supports here for the Russell 2000. It's just been a straight line down, back down here to supports here for the Russell 2000 to the lows of 2022 and 2023. The crazy thing about how violent the move has been and how fast it has been in here is that we can look down in here. This is what happened during C19, right? C19, we have our first sell here, and that's this moment right here. It bounces, it makes this little bounce, and then it goes violently into extreme oversold conditions down in here. So you can see the bottom of that is the green box. Come over here to current times right now. You could see that the Russell 2000 is actually more oversold than at the absolute bottom of C19. That's how violent the move has been once those announcements came in, and then we haven't even had 5 full trading days happen, and that's how violent the move has actually ended up being in here. So you're kind of at this point where it's like, max pain, max fear, max worry, max oversold at the same time. You go back and you kind of look through these things and you say, has there ever been times where it comes all the way back down to these levels? Yes, but there's really no good examples of showing it actually going below into new lows, right? It will get all the way down there with those big violent moves, but not go into new lows below them. And that's kind of where we are right now. So barring that we aren't going to actually end up maintaining these things of a 104% tariff. And I don't actually view 104% as being an actual tariff. I view that as being, that is trade shutdown. Like that's locking up trade, no more trade in that type of environment. So, I think the bet everyone probably has in the event that markets can recover, it's that this isn't going to last forever. If this is going to stay, if this is going to stick, these are the types of things that can create very serious economic consequences in regards to like employment, profits. This would cause really, really big issues if this thing sticks for long and it doesn't get itself resolved very quickly. And so I think a lot of people have to have kind of the idea that fingers crossed Trump knows what he's doing, right? And that there's got to be a resolution to it at some point relatively soon. So here we go. Markets just opened right now. You got a couple of things in the green, a couple of things in the red. Let's see what NASDAQ, Dow. All right, Dow's down 300 points, so nothing crazy. NASDAQ up a little bit as markets do open in here. Okay, let's talk about the stock market. Okay, so here's where we are right now, right? Now we can go back and look at various different major corrections that have come out of the United States stock market over the last decade. And what tends to end up happening is that we create these series of higher lows, and I've talked about these things many times in the past, and then you just plow through all of them until you finally get to the lowest one and you take it out. And that's how the bottoms can get marked. And you actually saw that happen back over here in 2022. It was very much of a roll down that ended up happening in here, right? Where things just gradually climb. And then we go take them all out, notice, to get the very last one. That's how that one ended up happening. Then you go back to C19, the story is the same, right? We go into a parabolic climb, right? Whoop, maybe, nope. And then it comes back to get every single one of them, right? All of them end up getting taken out. So where you're at this point right now is that you've gone ahead and taken every single one of them out. That's the depth of how each of these corrections have happened in the past to take these things out. Now, whether or not there's going to be any more dips down into these levels in here, you're going to hold these highs, right? You can go back and look as well, right? It gets back near the highs, right? In this one, it gets back to these highs over here, right? And that's the level, right? There you go. That's your level. And that's also your level of where you're at right now. So will there be some holding happening in here? I think a lot of this is going to, just technicals, when you're looking at charts, these are common things that happen and where you can get to. It's just whether or not we're going to shut down trade legitimately. And I don't know the answer to that, right? So at least as we're opening right now, a little bit of improvement, but we should know, while we do have a little bit of improvement in the stock market this morning, where the NASDAQ is even in the green, you've probably watched it. If you want to give yourself a like typically with crypto, it's that if you put it on the 1 minute chart, you can give yourself a heart attack. The stock market has pretty much been able to do that on the 1 minute chart. The Dow Jones Industrial Average essentially is having multiple swings of thousands of points throughout the day. So it's incredibly, incredibly volatile, and trying to see if we can find our footing down in here. So that's kind of where we're at. So just watch yesterday's video. I think it gives that kind of idea. But I think a lot of this really depends on if we can, and let's just go ahead and have that talk. Again, this is not political, and I know a lot of people have their own views on things when it comes to tariffs, right? And I'm just going to give a perspective because I've been a registered importer with U.S. Customs in the past, and kind of understand the process on what it's like with like lead times, putting things on boats and bringing them in, paying the duties when they get to customs, having them released by customs, freight, all those different things. A 100% tariff, like, the small businesses can't pay that. They just they can't pay it. And the problem that will end up happening here is that, first of all, just to like put things into context, right? If you're watching me on a computer screen right now, right, that was not made in America. If you're watching me on a phone right now, that was not made in America. If you're watching me on a TV, that was not made in America. If you're sitting at a desk right now, if you're just sitting at a desk right now, I want you to pick up any item within your sight, or look at any article of clothing that you are wearing right now. None of that was made in America. So the United States is very dependent on international trade, and we've outsourced that for a while. I don't disagree that we should be making our own things, and that we could, if we can become more competitive, then we can, export our own goods, insert our own goods. Nothing wrong with that. But it's just become the reality that it's just kind of cheaper to make things elsewhere. So everything depends on that, on trade being open. And we don't really have the resources available to be able to do a lot of the manufacturing currently right now. So the predicament we're in right now is that, there's a lot of stuff coming in on boats right now. There's going to be a lot of stuff at ports today. There's going to be a lot of stuff in production that's probably ready to get put on a boat overseas and head this way. And there's going to be companies that don't have the access to capital to be able to get it released from the port. Because if you spend $50,000 on inventory and you have it brought into the country, and let's say you had 50 grand of inventory in a 40-foot high cube container, and you shipped it a couple of weeks ago, and it's like sitting at the port right now. Well, you were hoping you were going to get that released for, $3,000 or $4,000 from U.S. Customs, but now it's going to cost you $50,000 to get that released from Customs. And I'm just real interested on how that's going to work. And so I've also been I've been trying to like track down people online who are currently dealing with this situation and how they're going to end up doing it. Because then there's the facet of people who still have all the production still happening overseas right now, and the orders are maybe completed. They're ready to get on a boat and come this way. And they have to decide, do I complete the order and bring it in, or do I leave it there and wait? And so what I'm noticing a lot is that there are people who are opting that they're just not going to ship the inventory right now. They're going to let it sit over there overseas and wait to see if conditions improve. So that could also create a bottleneck later if these things do release. But I mean, that's a problem we could deal with at another time. But there's going to be an inventory shortage that will come up at some point too. So I really hope this gets resolved quick because it doesn't make a lot of sense on how it's going to work. Right. And again, that's not to have a fundamental political disagreement or on whether or not, people should be charging tariffs or not charging tariffs. I get it. People want things to be fair, and that's fine. This is just a business perspective of how it's going to impact the economy. And like I've looked at how some of these companies are treating it and stuff. They're going to have to cut back on advertising expenses. They're going to have to lay off employees. They're going to have to cut costs. So if this sticks, the ramifications will spread. And how long will that last for is the big question and the big unknown. And so like when you look at it from that perspective, you think, oh boy, these could have very serious ramifications that spread throughout the entire economy, causing mass layoffs, reduced revenues for even like you would think even things like Google, right? Separating from any type of physical devices, just advertising revenue. Amazon, they have advertising revenue. That a lot of those things will get cut back as well, and profits will drop for a lot of these companies at the same time in these events, and then you lead, of course, to layoffs at the same time. So, my personal thought on it and my bet that I have to place on it, right? So when you look at it through that perspective, and I can't tell you which one's going to end up happening because I just don't know. But when I look at it through that perspective, I have to say, is he really going to do that? Right? Is he really going to do that? Or is there another plan? Right? And having to kind of make that bet on, things will improve and there's going to be some type of news release that'll come out. Because I think when some type of news release does come out, and it could happen at nighttime, it could happen anytime, and you're just not ready for it, and it just comes and boom, the market's going to fire to the upside super fast, and there won't be any way to catch that thing the second that it happens. That's what I think will happen. Or not necessarily I think, that's the bet I'm placing. And I think everybody has to kind of make that choice themselves. If these things stick and stay, we're looking at a pretty dire economic situation here for a little while. If it's temporary, then hopefully things can get put back into place pretty quickly. And when I imagine things getting put back into place pretty quickly, who would be the beneficiaries? Well, it would be this big sigh of relief for small and mid-sized companies, right? Small and mid-sized companies are the ones who are going to be impacted the worst from it. There would be a big relief to them. And then if we also magically get some Fed behavior happening in here where they lower interest rates or start QE at the exact same time, you get a double whammy happening there for small and mid-size. And it almost feels like the Fed's going to have to intervene at some point due to economic slowdown happening in here. So we may be lining up for that. But boy, that's a wild bet to make. It's a wild, wild bet to make. And so I have to look at it from the chart perspective too, and not just wild speculation like that things will improve and that there's going to be some news release and that's going to eventually make things better. But just the charts. So the charts typically do these types of things. And yeah, they do it. But what it doesn't tell us, what we don't know right now is if this is going to end up just being, if this is going to end up being some type of rotating thing, and that it is kind of like that. Fed cuts, and it's like super awesome for small and mid-sized companies. Or if this ends up just being somewhat of a retracement that happens in here too. We don't really know that, but my thoughts are like we would at least see something like that come in here for at least things for like the Dow Jones Industrial Average. If I had my own thoughts on it, like when it came to trade and stuff like that, my thought would be like American companies that are importing shouldn't be punished. But, you know, Chinese companies that are importing themselves and selling to the Americans, there should be regulations there. And that's a whole different topic on its own. But because that's an entirely different problem that I don't want to get too deep into. But I don't think American companies should be punished, but I can understand if there's Chinese companies that are importing their own stuff in here and selling it on the market, that there should be some regulations in there. There's a lot of bad practices. There's a lot of counterfeits. There's a lot of IP infringement that happens with those things, and there should be something done about that. But yeah, I think that's the bet that we're kind of placed at right now is, will this stick? Because if this sticks, it would be pretty bad. But are we also at max pain, right? Like, because it's no, like when it was announced, it was like a 34% tariff. It was like, oh crap, market sells off. And it's like, oh, it's a 34% tariff on top of a 20% tariff. So it's 54%. Oh crap. And then China comes out and says, hey, how about 50% on your stuff? And it's like, oh crap. And then as of yesterday, it was just like, all right, so we're going to have 54%. And then it's like, no, we're doing 104%. And then boom, he signs it. It's like, oh my gosh, this is trade war. So wild stuff. But like we talked about earlier, just from how price behaviors behave, a lot of times this is what it ends up doing. But I just think this stuff can't stick in here of what's happening economically, or else it could be some dire stuff long term. I think it has to find a resolution. And I have to, not from again, trying not to keep it political, because man, there's so many people's different views, and I understand people love them, people hate them. I have to think that there's no way you would do this without a plan. Like, you gotta have a plan. There's no way you would do this without a plan. You couldn't just wing it. There's gotta be a plan. And I have to assume that there's something there that I don't know, that it is going to resolve itself in there. Because otherwise this is like the death blow. This is bad. And I doubt it. But either way, for what is the day that the tariffs do go live, the stock market has opened positively, at least over in here. As for crypto, back over here, Bitcoin, 77,238. The crypto market mostly in the green over here. Nothing to run and tell mom about extreme excitement happening just yet. But all right, there you go. You got to see these things. As for XRP, of course, that big bet is the same thing, right? So this thing's in a downtrend. This thing's below the range that it got through. It shattered through it here Sunday night, Monday morning, as stocks, of course, sold off during that moment. Right now, we're stuck underneath that range right now. I've given examples of ABCs. The idea of this price being able to hold right here, of course, is this is the high from April of 2021 for the market cap, which is right at about $1.50. If this level doesn't hold right in here, I'm going to have a really tough read, guys, on being able to give any other ideas on what I think could end up happening in here. Just in general. So I'll be real clear with you on that. If that area doesn't hold, I'll have a very, very difficult read on anything. I would think we'd be capitulating. I would think it would be extreme sentiment, extreme worry. We reach max pain and then see prices react out of here. So if things break down from these levels and go lower in here, and then we still kind of catch a little bit of a bounce happening in here, there'll be some concern in here because they just won't have a structural read on what to look at for XRP. But as of right now, it's okay, right? But if we go firing off below there, that's going to be the hard part. And again, I think that comes down to the big bet, right? Do you think that stocks will recover from these moments in here? Are they going to be able to bounce themselves out of here? If not, if it's going to be much more devastating, and if it's going to keep going, and if these tariffs are going to stick, and if we're going to see an economic slowdown of extreme proportions with max unemployment, and we're going to see the Treasury market run wild, that could be a different story. And so I think everyone has to kind of make their own decisions for themselves on how you want to have yourself allocated. My allocation in markets, been pretty clear with it: 1/3 cash, 1/3 metals, 1/3 cash of like high yield savings and treasuries, 1/3 precious metals, 1/3 crypto. Still not sure if that's even the right allocation to be having, or is this an extreme buy the dip moment, buy the extreme fear things are going to improve, or is it the things are going to hit the fan, right? Real difficult to make that call in here. If we're just going to use technicals, right, of like talking about what the stock market is doing, if it's at a place where it could bounce, so could this. Okay. So that's what we'll be watching for: a technical bounce to come out of there at about $1.50, somewhere between $1.45 to $1.51 would be the place to look for an extreme bounce. And again, that's the high from April of 2021 on the market cap. As for things like the dominance, right, we've looked at these things side by side a lot. The bet, of course, here is as well is that we're still just working on this thing happening in here, and that this thing is progressing along as well. My thoughts are max dominance is going to get to maybe about 12%. And my bet is as long as XRP can improve from where it's at right now, and it doesn't go crashing with stocks in some manner, that the high is somewhere between that $7, $8, $9, $10, $11, $7, $8, $9, $10 level, which I think some major bank came out yesterday and predicted $12.50. I don't know what that is. Sorry, I don't have that available for you. I think the other things going on in the market are a little more important right now. But still, technically, this thing's still humming along in here, and hopefully we could see recoveries bounce out of here pretty soon. 12% dominance for XRP. That's probably $7, $8, $9, $10 as long as the markets can maintain themselves. Again, if you missed it earlier, the level of selling that we've seen happen over here in the Russell 2000 and the oversold levels that it's at resembles that of even more extreme over here than what we had during C19. So that's where you are right now. If you're feeling the pain of like, this is insane, you should. This is C9. This is C19 equivalent. This is C19 equivalent, like being down in here right now, of how extreme this has actually ended up being over this past week. The Dow. All right, we've already gone through the Dow. We've talked a lot about the Dow. The big thing that people were screaming about last night is that yields are rising over here on treasuries. There's lots of speculations on whether or not that means it's a fund blowing up, or if it's China selling them to protect the peg, to protect the CNY. So US dollar CNY getting into breakout territory in here where the dollar is gaining strength against the Chinese yuan. And in order to protect the currency, they can sell treasuries, and they have done it in the past. And so if they sell treasuries, that's going to make the yields rise. So the question is whether or not is that what's happening, which is causing yields to rise, or is it a liquidation event happening in the market? I would not be surprised if it is liquidations happening throughout the market, because you've seen everything kind of take a hit at the same time. Even just a couple of days ago, we saw gold getting hit really hard at the same time. I don't think people were panicking out of stocks and then panicking out of gold. Typically, when you see those things happening simultaneously, that's usually a liquidation event happening. So I'm going to bet we have bodies that float to the surface after everything that happened in these last 5 trading days. And now the question is that what this is? Is that's what's causing this too? It's a liquidation of stocks, liquidation of treasuries, right? I was listening to Peter Schiff. He did like a 2.5 hour spaces yesterday, and he's referring to this as everything American is getting sold. The dollar is getting sold. The equities are getting sold. The treasuries are getting sold. Hard to say, right? I think everybody wants to find their own narrative for what it is that's causing it. I don't know, and I haven't found anybody to give a confident answer. I think everybody is speculating whether or not treasuries are rising due to China selling it off to protect their currency, or if it's a hedge fund blowing up or something like that. And I don't know, but that's been an interesting dynamic. Crazy. we do have some green today to kick off the day. Oh, thank you. Corey said standard chartered predictions for XRP is $5 by end of year, $12.50 within 4 years. These kind of predictions rarely or never come true. Concerning question mark? I don't know. If you have examples of like major banks predicting it, and you could like quantify that, maybe. But I don't know. Gold. Gold has recovered, not in the highs, right? It's still fallen down from the highs of 31.65, but it got as low as 29.50 down in here, sitting at 30.72 right now, as everything is still incredibly volatile throughout markets. And don't be fooled by what we have happening here today, that things could definitely be crazy. But, I look back on a lot of events, and I don't want to say this is what will happen today, okay? But on a lot of events, it's, when things are at the worst and where you can't really see the hope there on things like today's the day the 104% tariffs go in effect, right? This is the day everybody is dreaded. It's by the time you get there that things can kind of turn their way around, and hopefully that ends up being the case. But I do think we need to see some news come out of there. One of the big things happening, of course, as well, is that oil has been breaking down. So gas prices are definitely going to be coming down. I think a lot of this is probably just going to be reduced demand that's happening in here. But we do have oil prices coming down. You do have gas prices coming down. You should see a decent sized drop in gas. I'm going to, in the last 5 days, prices gas has dropped 37 cents. So, you may see a delay on that. You may have seen it rising here in the past couple of weeks. That gas prices have been rising a little bit. You should see them drop back down here probably the next day or two when you head to the pump. Otherwise, that's really it, right? Are we going to be able to catch ourselves here in these levels for stocks? And then it's going to be, can the narrative change? Can things improve? Can trade open back up? I view the 104% tariff as a halt in trading, in international trade of goods, because there's just going to be way too many companies that can't bring the goods in. They don't have the funds to be able to handle that new cash flow. That's a significant cash flow barrier to be able to handle that. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. So I think this has to be short-lived. I just think it has to be. There's no way. There's no way economically it can stay. And again, that's not political because, man, I made a post over there on Twitter talking about this because I've worked in this business. I worked in this business for years. And so many people come in to attack. And I know that's just from a political view to attack. And I'm not trying to be political. I'm just trying to say from an economic standpoint and from a business standpoint, this can't stay without causing serious economic issues in regards to money flow, employment. It just won't work. I don't know. It's crazy. That's also why I have to think that it won't stay, because it can't work. That's the reality. Not without causing massive economic problems. So I don't think we'll be stuck with it for too long. All right, there you go. That's what you got going on with the charts. And this is the problem. This is the problem I think everybody has, because even me, trying to figure out what is the play, and I don't know what the play is. I don't know what the end goal is. I don't know how long it's going to last. I don't know what the end result is going to be. Listening to podcasters, they're not knowing either. Peter Schiff, not really understanding it or getting it either. 2.5 hours of talking about, of course, Peter Schiff loves to be a doomer, right? But even in the end, not getting the end result of what will happen in here. And here's just the headline over here in CNBC: Trump's tariff launch a global trade war with no clear off-ramp. No one really knowing, how do you get out of this? What does victory in this look like? And I think that's a challenge that we all have, is recognizing what does victory look like at the end of this thing, right? And so that headline's old news right there. I don't know why they put that there. Maybe just adds a little bit more fear. But China slaps 84% retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods in response to Trump. Well, they already had 34. They added 50. It's now 84. That's how we got to 104, is that we added another 50 to the 54. Dow futures tumble more than 600 points as China hits back at Trump's tariffs. U.S. crude oil tumbles more than 6%, trades below $56 as China imposes retaliatory tariffs. So as you can see here, this was just before, when I get these prepared, this is before markets are opening. Dow futures tumble more than 600 points. Well, we know that's not true now. Now the Dow is up 200 points, but we know we're in a super volatile moment of markets. So don't be surprised if there's still just a whole lot more bouncing around to take place down here at these lows. As for crypto news, man, this is a macro world right now. I don't know how much this crypto news matters, but you know how I go when I do these things. Let's get ready to insult. Bitcoin ETFs lose 326 million amid evolving dynamic for TradeFi markets. Trump tariffs reignite idea that Bitcoin could outlast the US dollar. Gold has been the winner, guys. Gold has been the winner. All right, 3 reasons Ethereum could turn a corner. Kane Warwick, ex-Hall of Fame. I saw somebody's super chat come in earlier. It says, what's going to happen with Ethereum? Ethereum is a very difficult one. U.S. government actions give clue about upcoming crypto regulation. Scaling the EVM requires an L1, not an L2. Michael Saylor strategy halts Bitcoin buys despite dip below $87,000. Panicked Bitcoiner mistakenly pays almost $60,000 in Bitcoin in fees. Pakistan appoints Jinping Zhao as crypto advisor as adoption heats up. Bitcoin may rival gold as inflation hedge over the next decade. Crypto bull market hasn't started yet. Longitude panel. It's technically an accurate statement. It hasn't started because the Bitcoin dominance has never fallen yet. I can give every wave count on here. We're back at the 702 Fibonacci retracement, sitting just a hair above it right there. If we fell to these levels down in here, just like we were talking about over there with like the Dow, showing all those different things, you're climbing. These things eventually just go plowing right through these things. I think it will eventually. But definitely, there's been no bull run, and this has been all the discussions of this stuff in here. We've spent a long time talking about it. This time is different. Holy cow! Now there's no question, right? Nobody can question the differences that we've seen now, even way more than I thought, right? And that's because we just plow through all support levels here when these tariff things start happening. But it's true. There's been no true bull run happening throughout the market. And yeah, we got things like Cardano, HBAR, BNB, XRP, Solana that have done well. But I mean, you look at Ethereum, you look at 90% of the cryptocurrency market, they're sitting at the low still. There's just been no expansionary move that has happened yet in the market. And even if we just got to right there, right? If we did exactly like the things we just talked about, you took out that level right there, 46%. Everybody will argue. I would think everybody would argue if that's the bottom, or if it's here, right? Or if it's here, or if it's here, or if it's here. But I think if it got there, you would have satisfied at least enough requirements to say that a crypto bull run has happened. I would think you would satisfy it. Was that the last one? Crypto bull market hasn't started yet. Crypto bull market hasn't started yet. Yeah, longitude panel. Yeah, for sure. All right. So, of course, the big news in the markets today is going to be what's going on over there with the Chinese yuan and what's happening over here with yields and whether or not these yields are taking off due to China selling them, a fund blowing up. Everybody's going to have their narratives. Like everybody's an expert, right? We're all experts at this stuff now. But yeah, I don't know. So there you go. Bitcoin 77,800. Today is tariff day. And, I think the things to kind of be cognizant about when it comes to the tariffs and everything like that, I think there's only one name that matters with all of them. I don't think it matters about Japan, Vietnam, Taiwan. I don't think it matters about any of them. The golden prize is China, and that has to be resolved. And if that gets resolved, then things will look up, right? So is this the worst we get? And of course, prices are never high at the worst, right? They're always low at the worst. And so hopefully that's it. And like I showed over there with the Russell, you have hit extreme conditions of like C19. It is this green bar. And it did really something very similar where it bounced into these oversold levels, bounced out of it, and then came down this deep. That's very similar to what we've had happen in here. We've had even a stronger bounce over here in the Russell, and then the fall has been even deeper than that of C19. So that's where you're at today. If you're kind of panicking today or whatnot, which is a very uncertain time in there, at least on the technicals, on the charts, and what it's reading. We are as oversold as we were at the very, 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 very bottom. We are more oversold than we were at the very, very, very bottom of C19. So. Deep breaths, deep breaths. All right. Again, I won't have all the answers for you guys. I tried to kind of outline a lot of my thoughts on it throughout here. So when you guys have the super chats and the questions and everything like that, I'll do my best to answer. But I've given my thoughts on it. Like, if this stuff sticks, it's a pretty dire economic situation here, at least in the short term until a resolution happens. If this thing resolves and things end up being bright and shiny and wonderful, then I think we're all okay. But trade can't shut down, not for the U.S. economy. It just can't do it. All right. Edward Lang, new member, welcome. Thank you very much. Sandy says, what's going on with ETH? Will it only retrace? Well, Ethereum chart looks nearly identical to like Bitcoin's entire 2018 through 2020 bear market, as if this is actually the COVID crash for Ethereum right now. Jonas Fugalis, member for 21 months, brother. Thank you. Tony Wynn, 22 months. Hey, guys joined at about the same time. Thank you. Edward Lang, man, that was amazing. And I have a feeling there's something else that comes through here in a minute. Edward Lang, like right when this thing kicked off, gifted out 50 memberships, man. Thank you very much. Unbelievably generous. Thank you. Tony Wynn, are we effed? Oh, wait. I missed it with Tony. I missed it. Are we effed? I saw that come through with, who was it? Raoul Paul. So had a poll, and it said, "We are so effed." Right? No, he says, what does the poll say? It says like, "What are we?" And the options were, "We are so effed," or "We are not effed," or "We may be effed," or I don't remember what the last one was. Right. So I think everybody's kind of in that boat. Like, are we effed right now? Is trade shutting down? Is this going to cause the massive economic problem happening in here? We'll see. And then Edward, you gifted another 50, man. You gifted 100, brother. Thank you. Very generous. If your name got greened out in there, Edward, unbelievable, man. Thank you. Thank you very much. Tony Wynn, 10-year yield. Holy. Yeah, this is what we were looking at, right? Well, technically it's a retrace of this move. We love narratives. We love to make it go crazy. But yeah, I think this is the opposite. So, if you're seeing criticism out there, and I'll just, people are saying that, the goal of Trump on this, again, not political, guys. I'm just telling you what the rumor mill's out there, right? The goal of Trump on all of this is, of course, to drop yields to get the Fed to be able to cut, right? And so the opposite's happening, where equities are falling, but yields are still rising. And so you say, well, he never said that, right? He never said that he did that. But if you go back to his Truth Social, you'll see something in there where he retweeted this guy on Twitter. And it's this video of explaining what Trump is doing. And it's a video where he's explaining that Trump is crashing the stock market to get the Fed to cut or something like that. So he posted that on his Truth Social on his page. And so that's why people are like, it's not working, right? And that's why people are also kind of like, oh crap, yields are going up. That's not what's supposed to be happening. I don't have an opinion on that. I don't have a full grasp on whether or not this is just a reflexivity event from somebody getting liquidated and they're having to liquidate everything in their portfolio, and that includes treasuries. Is it a large thing, or is it China selling stuff? I have no idea. ZERP twerp, and is that just a retracement, right? Oh boy, ZERP twerp. Member for 13 months. Here we go. For XRP to fit $589 with a 59 billion circulating supply, its market cap would be 34.75 trillion. That's 160% of the US M2 broad money supply. XRP would be worth more than all the money circulating in the US economy. There you go. I haven't run the math to know if that's true. Probably is. Yeah. I don't think it's going to get there. I don't think. I definitely don't. Thank you. And then Edward, again, man, thank you very much. Bassam El Qadri, what's your view for silver? And will it retrace or just go up? Gold has gotten way out. My thoughts are silver's going to follow. My metals portfolio is half and half. It's half silver, half gold. Obviously, gold. No, is it? Yeah, it's outperformed a little bit because the gold to silver ratio is up, right? So gold to silver ratio has been climbing. So now gold has been the winner in here, right? But my expectations are that silver goes into a bull run, or else I wouldn't buy it. And really, it's more of a hedge, right? Even all of my gold and all of my silver has been in a hedge for an environment like this. Andrea says, if we close the RTY this week below 1795, there wouldn't be a bull run for small and mid caps. Is the same true also for cryptos in general? Because we haven't seen any bull run in cryptos since 2021, right? There's a very strong possibility of that. Very strong possibility of that with how low the RTY has gone. It's gone all the way back to the lows. It's taken out the whole thing, right? And if this is the event that happens in here of something like this, that's possible. And it's possible that cryptos don't have a big bull run. Ryan Chase, hey BCB, you are the man. Thank you for being here in the good times and in the bad times. Much love, sir. Thank you, Ryan. It was very generous. Yeah, days like today. 5 days of straight down after a huge catalyst and what is perceived as like a economic trade shutdown. Bird's View, man, thank you. Hello, first time ever gifting. You dropped a hundo, amazing. First time ever gifting a content creator or YouTuber. Amazing content. Watch all of these updates. Take it away from me searching the internet and finding information. XRP and ADA holder since 2017. Love the updates through difficult times. Thank you. Thank you very much, Bird's View. And thank you for being your first one. And you were very generous. Thank you very much. A lot of times I don't think you guys need me so much on the days where things are just kind of stable. So sometimes I'll take a random day off, but I do always try to make a priority that even when things are really rough, like in times like right now, like there's no real days off, right? It's like every day we're here because this is kind of crazy. But when things are kind of stable and chill, I'll have just like a random day off or something like that. But I always, it's a priority that when things are kind of chaotic that we're here kind of every day. But thank you, brother. James Payne, you've said previously that XRP hits $1.50, then you couldn't make a bullish case. No. The only bullish case is that it's following something of like 2017. So we've talked it up. Maybe those words did come out of my mouth at some point. I don't recall it if it was like some random thing in a live stream. The only case that I can make, right? And so that's why earlier I just said, if this thing goes below here, I don't have a case. I don't know how to force one to happen on the chart. Because here's what you have in both of these, right? ABC correction that comes in here. These are the levels that you get to. Here's structurally how these can look. And that this ends up being the back test of the 2021 high for the market cap. If it does go below there, though, I got nothing, right? Like I've seen so many calls for $1.20, $1. Those numbers, I can't make a case for those numbers. I don't have it. I don't know how to force it onto the chart at $1.20. Like I just can't. The only one that I can force onto the chart from just a technical perspective, if we're just doing technicals, is something like this that would hit $1.50, and that's a back test of the 2021 high. That's it. And this isn't even ideal, right? Like what I'd hope for is that this would just end up being real simple. Something like this, right? And it's just, right? We still have this on the dominance and on XRP BTC. But if this thing just starts kind of crumbling down in here, and then XRP goes below $1.50, and $1.50 is not a line in the sand number. I think it could be as low as $1.40. Where is the chart? It's right in there, right? Like 143 to 152, right? Right in there. It starts breaking down in here. I don't have something for you, right? I don't know how to make it for you. Chat wants the frog. 51 minutes in. 51. All right. Hey, at least we kicked the day off a little bit green. I know it's a rough life out there in the markets. Everything is super uncertain and it's a crazy time. But hey, we're here together, and we're living and breathing.
It is Wednesday, my It is Wednesday, dudes.
All right. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Aiden Gamer, BCB, how will the tariffs affect those who import food items like seafood and meat? I don't know. I probably don't know enough about unless there's like different regulations and stuff that happen for seafood and meat that I'm not familiar with. I would assume it's just the same. And I don't know if I believe these are sweeping tariffs. So the tariffs on literally everything. So I'd assume it impacts those as well. So imported meats, right? You see, right? So like just math, so you guys simply understand. Let's say an item is sold for $10. Oh, geez, an item is sold for $10 to retailing, right? This is where it's sold at the store. Usually, the cost of the item that's purchased overseas is usually about $2 to $3. That's kind of what they pay for it overseas. And then the $10, right? You're gonna have to work in all of your like shipping costs, packaging costs, freight, warehouse, overhead storage things, and that you're selling it for 10 to kind of in the end you're hoping that you make about $2 at the end of it, right? So this is like the price you pay. So we'll just say you pay $3, right? The tariff is based on that number, right? So it's not based on that thing. It's going to be based on this thing. If the tariff has gone to 100% on this thing, you've essentially doubled your cost of importing the product. So this now goes to 6, which, if you still want to make 20%, you got to charge 333. So this goes to 13.60 is what that new cost would be. So that's kind of how you would see it. The thing about it, though, is that I'm uncertain we would actually see a lot of inflation come out of this. And the reason why I think we might not see a whole lot of inflation come out of it, if it sticks, is I think we would see deflation. Just demand would go down so hard. I think that would be the problem. Oh boy, I'm way behind. I gotta go because we're already almost at an hour. I'm gonna go a little faster. Ben Heller, I feel like a dingus, but with all this volatility, I shifted into cash for now. I just want to send opium to all of us. Yeah, well, the market is super unknown right now, right? I think if I didn't have like a third cash, a third gold and silver, and a third crypto, and if I was like all in equities and crypto and had literally nothing, I'd be pretty nervous with the uncertainty because you don't have an asymmetric easy bet here. Right? This is the very challenging moment. But I think, in a moment like this, it's very difficult to know what the right decision is with a 104% tariff placed on China and trade pretty much coming to a halt. It's a very, very difficult one. Jack Long, I've been following Ethereum 2017 for a while. It looks identical to XRP's current fractal. Yeah. So that's conceptually the same thing as what this thing is, right? So I know what he's talking about. It's gonna have to be on Bitstamp. Again, right? Thanks for sharing that. And thank you, it's very generous. Tony Wynn, BCB 88 chart, what's the support line in the sand if it gets taken out? Thanks. I don't have a specific number on ADA, guys. Like there's ones that I'm like either crypto is going to get wrecked with, if the stock market literally goes kerplunk, like it's just, it's less about the particular penny on one particular asset. Let's see, do I have ADA open in here? Here we go. Right in here, right? And the reason why it's hard with these on things like this, I was looking at a chart earlier. On how if you had a particular penny, how it would knock you out. Was it XRP? Right, like here would have knocked you out. What was I looking at? Is it H bar? Yeah, that's what it was. Like right in here at the last second, if you would have done that, that's what would have happened to you. Right, things where like it would just like in general, like, and these are big figures, guys. You're not gonna like it, right? Like, I think if we're all the way back down in here again, taking out these lows again, it just has definitely not done what I would have expected it to do. I would have certainly expected a big pull down like this to happen, where it comes to almost the 382 to deep in here, right? There's nothing unexpected, or nothing that not to say unexpected, but not to say that like it couldn't do that. But, you know, if it starts heading back down here to the lows again, it's just, I think we would have so many world of hurts already at that point that it just wouldn't even be the ADA chart at that point anymore. I think that the bigger thing is more focusing on macro. And that's kind of been the thing that I've preached for quite some time on, like, is macro going to end up breaking everything? And I think that's what we're kind of paying attention to right now. Like, if the Dow, like, plowed through this thing, 32,000, then it's like, this thing's like in collapse, man. Moon Man, the weekly RSI on the Ethereum BTC chart is now the lowest it's ever been. Yeah, it's, you know, and I think it's going to reverse the second that Bitcoin dominance does. And it's right there, right? It's right in these levels right in here. And that's why I posted on Twitter the other day. I was kind of like, you know, SBTC bottom question mark, because we're right here, right? And exactly, it's like Bitcoin dominance most overbought, SBTC most oversold. I think something's got to give at some point. Terrence Rafferty, I believe we are in a U.S. versus China chess match that gets resolved in a way to make Trump happy and Xi Jinping able to also look like a hero. I think that's the bet everybody's trying to make, right? Or they're making the opposite. They're making the doom bet, right? Randall 9, Trump's plan is bet that China folds first. China has $759 billion in liquid treasuries. They lose $220 billion a year of tariffs, and they owe $165 billion a year in U.S. debt. Tariffs would cause unemployment, massive riots, and China has to fold by August. Yeah, but what would happen to markets by August? I'm uncertain markets have that much time. The thing is, both countries are kind of backed into a corner. And I know a lot of people in America probably don't think that America's backed into a corner in this. But this next question kind of gives you a clue. Corey says, not being political, but if trade stops and inflation skyrockets, then unemployment, do you not think that even Trump supporters would protest? Trump would fall? I don't want to comment on people having political opinions and what their support would be. It's not my place to ever do anything like that. I'm not really going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But I also so that's the other thing I think about too with this, that like Trump probably has some type of plan. We just don't know what it is. Because I don't think he wants that. Like, I don't think he wants small businesses to fail. I don't think he wants that. I don't think he wants a stock market crashing. Right now, the stock market crash has his name associated with it, right, as the catalyst and the causation. I don't think he wants that, right? So I think he's going to do whatever he needs to do or within his power to try to make things better. Like, right, he's kind of the one wielding the gun, right? And I would think that he's going to do what he can to try to make things better. And that's not political either. It's not me supporting Trump, loving Trump, hating Trump, nothing. That's just reality, like looking at it from a logical perspective. Like, I just don't think the guy wants to have it on his resume of like unemployment spike. I don't think he wants to have it on his resume of stock market crash. And, so I got to think that he's up to something. He's up to something. Choose Moe's. If you look at the SPX over WM2NS, we rejected at the same level in 1998 before getting the 20% correction. Right in here. Puppet Master's pulling the puppet strings. Interesting. You got your little head and shoulders going on right here with your little head and shoulders back test going on there. Thank you. Brandon M, what do you make of the Russell closing and sitting below 1795 rotation and validation? Yeah, so we even ran these things through AI to give like specific numbers on what would it mean if rotation would be invalidated, what would have to happen, and it was saying, weekly close, the big caution is, getting below 1950, which, I outlined these things all to you guys last week before Trump even made the tariff stuff. We were talking about all these different numbers, right? Goes below 1950, the big caution, the big concern. Then I think it was 1875. Was that the next number? I think it was. And then 1795 was the big, like, boom, you got no rotation. And like that's where we're at right now, right? This market has just obliterated itself after these things. And it went down in a complete straight line. So that's going to create a lot of the confusion on moving forward, right? Now what, right? Is it just a retracement? Or is it something entirely different, right? But this past week has just obliterated markets. And as crazy as it is, like, yeah, there's a little move right in here for Bitcoin, but that's nothing, right? That's nothing compared to what we've seen in macro markets. Black Cat says, today is my wife's first day to the USA. Can you give her a big welcome? Her name is Leica. Thanks. Let's hope the market turns around. Black Cat, thank you very much. And welcome to the USA. Right. And the other thing too, like with that, right, with like rotations and stuff like that. And that's the part about this is such a catalyst event, right? Right. This is a very specific catalyst event that, one, if it sticks, yeah, like mid caps and small caps are wrecked. Like if this stays and like if the Fed doesn't cut, they're so wrecked because they're already in debt up into their eyeballs and they don't have the cash to be able to front for these tariffs up front. Like they're destroyed. But if the tariffs trigger rate cuts so that the mid caps and small caps can refinance all their debt at lower rates and then all the tariffs disappear, then they have this big competitive advantage now and they can compete with the big boys. And that's a totally different picture, right? So like in the current environment of where it's at right now, like mid caps and small caps are in big trouble when it comes to refinancing debt and paying these tariffs because it's the companies that pay these, right? Like the companies all pay this, right? Like we can't kid ourselves on that. It's the U.S. company that is importing the product and selling the product that is the one that pays the tariff. And so can they afford it? No, not right now. Not right now. That's why I also think the math doesn't math. And that's why I just think there's no way this stuff sticks because the math doesn't math. There's got to be a plan. Maybe it's something totally different, right? Maybe it's like with politics. That's the worst thing about politics. We don't talk about it a whole lot too. Like sometimes there's 4D chess that's happening and we have no idea what it is, right? And I don't know. So, all right, there you go. Today, the day it all goes into effect. Markets open in a stable environment. Overnight, it was really red. In pre-market, it was really red. I totally expected we were going to come on here and have just a big old fat red day because we were down like 600 points just an hour before the markets opened. And somehow we're just pretty stable here currently right now. So we'll see how the day progresses. And I'll check in with you guys every day, right? Hope you guys are taking care of your taxes. It's been a huge pain and a thorn for me to take care of at the exact same time as all of this. What a nightmare. A handicapper says, do you have invalidations for ADA? Somebody asked about that. I knew people would ask about ADA. No, I'm a long-term hodler on ADA. It's either the market is wrecked, like things that you'd look for that would be not bueno, like Bitcoin getting to like Bitcoin definitively taking out the previous high. Like if you got to $65,000 over here for Bitcoin, then it comes back and back tests like the 200 week, right? No, 50-week moving average and is finding resistance underneath the 50-week moving average after a move like that, I think that's your sign rather than a specific dollar or penny number on ADA. I think it's looking for broader trends throughout the whole market. K. Dumas says, I'm more worried about next year's taxes. What if the no capital gains taxes actually means you can't claim your capital gains losses either? All right, guys. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I appreciate you all for being here. We're a little bit over an hour at this point. We're stable today, but we'll check on it every day. And hopefully everything can kind of turn its way around out there in macro markets right now, because it's certainly an uncertain time at this exact moment. So trying to think if there's anything else I need to cover. I think we're good. Oh, yeah, of course. Check out the newsletter. Do that whole thing. Check out bcbacker.com. Have a great Wednesday. And anything develops, of course, I tweet it out over there on Twitter. Otherwise, like everybody, I'm just kind of living in the moment, watching it all unfold in front of us. And we'll see how things go. But, all right, that's going to be it. I'll get you one more frog before we go. And hit the like button if you could, guys. Thank you.
It is Wednesday, my dude. It is Wednesday, dudes.
All right. There we have it. Eric. And Texas Takeover. The Froggies. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you all so much for watching. If you could, please like this live stream and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.